Hello, Heritage Elementary. My name is Karen Allen, and I am the author of the Couth Fairy series, a series all about manners, which I don't even know that you need, because what I've heard is that you are doing amazing at your PBIS goals. And I just wanted to tell you how incredibly proud I am of you. And I want you to keep on. Don't stop now just because you're good at it. Keep on being amazing and crushing those goals for PBIS. But I'm just so incredibly proud of you. You are what makes an eagle an eagle. So keep flying, keep soaring, and keep doing what you know to do as a Heritage Elementary Eagle. I wanted to share one of my books with you while we had just a minute. This is The Couth Fairy Goes to School. It's all about manners here at school, and I wanted to share it with you if you'd like. So here we go. The Couth Fairy Goes to School, written by me. Here we go. On Monday morning, AJ is eating breakfast in the cafeteria at school. He's sitting with several of his friends and thinks it would be funny to put his half-eaten chicken biscuit on top of his head. Then he pours out his milk on his empty tray and throws the milk carton across the cafeteria. Then out of the blue, poof, the Couth Fairy appears, and in her sweetest southern drawl, she says, "Now, Bubba, it is uncouth to play with your food at the table, especially here. I have 2 rules about eating in the school cafeteria. Number 1, never embarrass yourself. And number 2, never gross anyone else out at the table. You, dear one, have done both today. Treat your cafeteria just like your dining room table at home, with care and respect. And remember to always mind your manners." And poof, just as quickly as she appears, she vanishes. Monday afternoon, AJ finishes his PE class and goes into the restroom. After he uses the bathroom, he begins washing his hands over the sink. He squeezes the soap and it spills onto the sink and into a puddle on the floor. Then he leaves the water running while he grabs several paper towels to dry his hands. He wads up the paper towels and shoots them toward the trash can like a basketball. He misses the trash can, but he leaves the wadded up paper towels on the floor. Then out of the blue, poof, the Couth Fairy appears, and in her sweetest southern drawl, she says, "Now, pork chop, it is uncouth to leave this bathroom in such a wreck. It's your responsibility to clean up your own mess, not the custodians. Their job is hard enough as it is without having to clean up after you. Take the time to leave your school's restroom cleaner than when you found it. Oh, and you may want to work on your basketball skills while you're at it, sugar. And remember to always mind your manners." And poof, just as quickly as she appears, she vanishes. On Tuesday, AJ and his class walk down the hallway to art class. While all of the other students stay in line, AJ decides to throw his arms out to his sides and fly like an airplane down the hall. As he flies, his arms knock down the beautiful artwork displayed on the walls. Then, out of the blue, poof, the Couth Fairy appeared, and in her sweetest southern drawl, she said, "Now, Sugar Booger, it is uncouth to walk down the hallway like that. You, dear one, are not an airplane. Walk in the line quietly with your hands down by your sides. Never touch anything on the walls. Things placed on the walls are for your dear eyes, not your little hands. And remember to always mind your manners." And poof, just as quickly as she appears, she vanishes. On Wednesday morning, AJ's teacher begins reviewing for a test with the class. While she's talking, AJ begins whispering to his friend beside him. The teacher asks a question AJ knows, and without raising his hands, he shouts, "Oh, I know, it's Abraham Lincoln." Then out of the blue, poof, the Couth Fairy appears, and in her sweetest southern drawl, she says, "Now, sweet tater, it is uncouth to shout out an answer like that, especially when you're supposed to raise your hand. But even more importantly than that, you must show your teacher a great deal of respect. Teaching is a very difficult job, and we fairies think that teachers are angels. You just can't see their wings. Teachers need and deserve your respect, sir. And remember to always mind your manners." And poof, just as quickly as she appears, she vanishes. On the way to the buses Wednesday afternoon, AJ sees a boy running to his bus. AJ decides to stick out his foot and trip the boy. The boy goes sprawling onto the ground and his book bag spills everywhere. Everyone laughs as AJ picks up the boy's lunchbox and throws it in the trash can. Then out of the blue, poof, the Couth fairy appears, and in her sweetest southern drawl, she says, "Now snickadoodle, it is uncouth to treat another person like that. There's a name for what just happened here, and it's called bullying. I believe that you should treat others the way you want to be treated. That's called the golden rule, and I, for one, love anything that's golden. Oh, and honey, no one likes a bully. No one. And remember to always mind your manners." And poof, just as quickly as she appears, she vanishes. Thursday morning, AJ and his class are in the media center. 2 students begin reading a book in Spanish and are enjoying their conversation. All of a sudden, AJ interrupts them and says, "I can't even understand what you're saying. You two need to speak English." Then out of the blue, poof, the Couth fairy appears, and in her sweetest southern drawl, she says, "Now pay note. It is uncouth to tell someone else they have to speak your language. We're all different, and we're all from somewhere special. Respect our differences, and remember that if we were all the same, life would be so very boring, and boring is no fun. And remember to always mind your manners." And poof, just as quickly as she appears, she vanishes. It's Thursday afternoon, and AJ's in the middle of his math test. AJ begins to get very frustrated because he can't figure out question number 9. He's trying really hard to understand the question, but he just can't get it. AJ decides to lean over and look at Michael's paper to see what he wrote down for number 9. Then out of the blue, poof, the Couth fairy appears, and in her sweetest southern drawl, she says, "Now monkadoodle, it is uncouth to look at someone else's answers on a test. My mama always told me that cheaters never win, and winners, well, they never cheat. I know it's hard when you don't know the answer, but darling, you just have to try your best, and your best never includes cheating. And remember to always mind your manners." And poof, just as quickly as she appears, she vanishes. It's Friday morning, right after the bell rings, and AJ is rushing to get to his classroom because he's late. He's trying to get to his cubby to hang up his book bag, but one of his classmates who's in a wheelchair is blocking his way. AJ hollers, "Get your stupid wheelchair out of my way! I'm already late!" Then out of the blue, poof, the Couth fairy appears, and in her sweetest southern drawl, she says, "Now puddin' pie, it is uncouth to holler at anyone, but especially someone who's in a wheelchair. Every person is special, but sometimes you're blessed enough in a classroom to have someone who is super special. Your job, dear one, is to show them extra special care. Be thoughtful, kind, and considerate to everyone, but even more so to those whose needs are special too. These students are not just ordinary students. They are extraordinary. Never forget that, sugar. And remember to always mind your manners." And poof, just as quickly as she appears, she vanishes. 2 weeks go by, and AJ's dad comes to visit and eat lunch with him in the school cafeteria. They're sitting at the lunch table chatting about how AJ's day is going, and AJ tells his dad that he's been making much better choices at school. He tells his dad that he hasn't had a visit from the Couth fairy in weeks. AJ's dad says, "I'm so proud of you, son." As his class begins to line up, AJ hands his empty lunch tray to his dad. All of a sudden, AJ's dad grabs his empty milk carton and throws it across the room, and it lands on the floor right next to the trash can. Then, out of the blue, poof! The end.